introductions. My name is Audette. I am currently the Kingdom Minister of Arts and Sciences for the Middle Kingdom. I am currently taking applications for my replacement as well. So if folks are interested, that's an option. I also have several deputy positions that are open, and certainly each group can, and I would love to see each group having their own MoAS. Some groups are required to, some groups are not. But for the groups that, all groups, I think it's great to have an MoAS. Okay, so how to be an MoAS. So the definition of the office, if I take a look at our handbook, sort of our guiding documents, basically arts and sciences includes anything they did back in pre-17th century. So craft skills, technology, researching any of that, cultures as well. The SCA now considers global pre-17th century, so anywhere in the world. The MoAS office itself is sort of an administrative office. A lot of the folks that take on the MoAS office are interested in doing arts and sciences themselves, and that's a good basis to get started into it. But a lot of the role is actually cheerleading and encouraging people to do ANS and enabling people to do ANS. And then key piece that I have toward the end of that paragraph, recognizing folks that do ANS. Okay, so these are all kind of parts of that position. Okay, whoop, that scrolled really quickly. So the MoAS office, Minister of Arts and Sciences office, as I said, it's organizational. That's sort of one of the key tenets of the office. So there's paperwork to handle, there's reports that have to be filed quarterly, there's an email account associated with the MoAS office for each group, and ideally folks are checking that, a couple times a week at least, responding to things that need response. Communication is key. That's the primary official communication path for me to be able to get information to the different local MoAS officers, and for me to get information from them as well. I mean, you can always say, hey, you at an event, and we can have a chat. Or, hey, you at an event, can we schedule a chat? Like, both of those are totally legit. But we also have email addresses that are made for doing that communication. Yeah. The first piece of business when an MoAS takes over the office, they complete a change of officer form. And it's a standard form the Mid-Realm uses, I think possibly the whole SCA uses, that basically lists the outgoing officer's information, the incoming officer's information, and then it has several of the officers of the local group sign it to say, yes, we witnessed this and agree with this situation happening. So once you get that completed, you'll want to send that sort of up the chain to whichever MoAS you report to, as well as to your local seneschal so that they have it for their record keeping. Okay. Because the form itself includes information from the outgoing MoAS, we want them to include some of their information on that as well. Their name, their so forth. Yeah. I have to the side of the handout here sort of our reporting structure. So when I say local MoAS, that's going to be your shires and your cantons, strongholds, incipient shires, incipient cantons, colleges, sort of groups that are a single unit and don't tend to have anybody reporting up to them or any subdivided element of them. Then we have, kind of in the middle there, I have baronial MoAS. So if you're in a canton or one of the subgroups that is part of a barony, your reports will generally go up to your baronial MoAS. If you're in something that is not attached to a barony, then your reports are going to go directly to the regional MoAS. The baronial MoASs, their reports go to regional. And then the regional MoASs report up to Kingdom, where I sit, and I then inform the Crown and Curia, sort of their board and advisors, I also report myself up to the Society MoAS. And if I scroll just a smidge further, can I do that without going way fast? The Society MoAS then reports up to the Board of Directors. Okay, so there's this whole sort of reporting chain, and that's why getting those reports done in a timely fashion is important, because there are people using the information they receive from you to do their report going further up. Okay, now associated with each of our officer positions within the mid-realm, we have a mid-realm account in Google Workspace. Okay, so that includes Google Drive, Google Sheets, Google Docs, the Google email address. All of that is part of your office, and with the Drive connected to it, it makes it very easy to pass down record keeping to the next MoAS in your organization, or to find things from the prior, because it's ideally all within that Google Drive. So we encourage the use of that Drive for various records you might want to keep, for various communication you have, that sort of thing. Highly encourage it. And I do hope that the MoAS officers are sort of reviewing their email once or twice a week. It is possible to connect your mid-realm account to your personal phone. That is a choice. You don't have to. Your call. Okay. So we also have quarterly reports that are needed from the MoAS officers. The report schedule is posted on the mid-realm website, and it basically lists out when each type of group needs to report to the through the MoAS Google form. Yeah. The Google Forms we have for most of our officer reporting in the mid-realm are tied to our officer email address. That's done to reduce the amount of spam we might get through these forms, and to ensure that the folks using the forms are officially in the roles that they are reporting from. I have recently taken this office over again, and one of the projects I am working on right now is updating that Google form. We have a particular pain point in it that has frustrated folks for a while, and with my last report to Society, I learned that I no longer have to provide class numbers to Society. And previously, the quarterly report for local MoAS officers asked them to say, how many classes have people in your group taught? How many classes have people in your group taken? And it was a headache and difficult and challenging for a lot of the local MoASs to get accurate information for that. It was hard and it was confusing. So that's being removed. I am simplifying the report form because it needs it. And it should be available by December. If folks are interested in reviewing it beforehand, I am happy to let them see a draft copy of it. Okay, so that's sort of the organizational aspect, the paperwork, file keeping, communication. Next, we get into some of the other details of being in the office. So here we have dissemination of research and skill. Okay, this is kind of the bulk of what we think the MoAS office does. And ideally, this is where they spend most of their time. It's the cheerleading, it's the setting up or getting folks to set up ANS activities. It's the encouraging people to teach classes, to take classes, to come to events like today. It's helping connect people. If you've got somebody who's interested in some aspect of ANS, helping connect them with somebody who maybe has a bit of knowledge in that area and could help mentor them. So making those connections, networking, and it's a lot of cheerleading. I don't ask or expect that the MoAS officers in groups run or teach all the things. That's an unreasonable ask. But I do ask that they represent the ANS community, encourage it, try to get folks to do ANS and to do these things within the ANS sphere, teach, display, demonstrate. You may, as the MoAS, be asked for counsel. An autocrat is planning an event in your group, and they're like, what do we do for ANS? Do we have space for classes? Do we have time for classes? Do we need to do a competition? What do we do? And so you can provide counsel. It's useful for ideally you've got a bit of knowledge and a bit of background on different types of ANS events. And you're able to sort of say, well, we don't really have the classroom space to have a lot of class tracks. So maybe what we should do instead is have sort of a crafter's green where people can bring their work and work on them in public so that folks can learn and see and maybe even try their hands at it. You may also be asked by individuals that are interested in getting more involved in ANS, but don't quite know how or what. And so you can provide some ideas or some direction for them or point them toward folks that may be able to assist. Yeah. Questions? I will admit we'll be going through the content pretty quickly without questions. But a lot of this comes down to cheerleading and networking. Now, cheerleading also comes up for recognition, okay? Within the SCA, we have a whole awards structure system. And if you see people consistently doing ANS stuff and you're like, that's cool, please put them in for awards. Recommend them. We've got the Willow and the Oak here in Mid-Realm. We have the Evergreen. You can even put in a recommendation for Laurel. Anybody can put in a recommendation for any award. Please do it often, frequently. There are some crowns that very much appreciate getting information from local officers. It helps them understand the local group better because the crown is from one area and they don't necessarily know what's going on in some group that's 4 to 8 hours away from them. The other thing, within the report form, that quarterly report, I have a space where I ask for you to brag on your folks, for you to tell me who's doing really cool stuff. What are they doing? I like to get specifics. So if Joe Bob taught 8 classes at Penzic, and you're like, that's a lot of work. I wanna, brag on him for putting that together, doing it. Let me know. If Sally has hosted a string thing gathering at her house every other week for 6 months, that's also pretty cool. If somebody won the Golden Seamstress, that's pretty cool. So if they've won notable competitions, I like to hear about it. And frankly, I also very much steal deliberately from this part of the quarterly reports because I am asked to do the same in my report to society. So the society officer asks me to provide this kind of information. And then they often will sort of select from what I send to include in their report to the board of directors of the SCA. Some of those folks end up getting recognized by the president of the SCA in their various meeting notices. It's kind of cool to see your name in print being, congratulated for winning something or for doing something cool. And this is part of how we enable that. So please, I really like to get specific, someone's doing this cool thing. Yeah. And then there's also just directly telling folks, like, this is awesome. I want to learn more, or thank you for sharing, like sort of part of that direct recognition as well, because we're in a very kindness-starved world right now, and getting, one-on-one recognition can be one heck of a salve if folks are a bit stressed, telling them, I really appreciate that you taught that class, or, you had a really cool entry in that competition. I was really impressed by this, that, and the other thing. That's heard by the recipient that you're telling, and it can mean a lot to folks. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of it. Like, as an MoAS, you do paperwork, you encourage and enable ANS activities, and you make sure folks get recognized for ANS. It's not a long description. Are there any questions? Or any questions on Zoom?
How would you recommend, like, encouraging ANS people who are just new to the SC as a whole? I'm really an unofficial position in, like, a local college group. I'm sort of helping more on, like, the college group side.
Okay.
So, not officially administered, but like a half and half position.
Fair. So if you've got a lot of new folks, sometimes doing like newcomers classes where you teach them about various aspects of the SCA, or you bring somebody in. Maybe one of your neighboring groups has somebody who's been playing in the SCA for 10, 15, 20 years, and maybe they have a shiny hat and would love to talk to folks. Can sort of enjoy getting to share some of what we love about the SCA with folks that are newer. Some of it, I found a lot of make and take type classes can be really good when you've got folks that are fairly new to the SCA. You work with somebody to plan out a class where within the bounds of this class that maybe will happen at some regular-ish event or regular-ish cadence, you can then have something for them to sit down, learn how to do, work on the project, and ideally complete it and take with them.
Do you have any recommendations for, like, just easy make and take craft or something?
So I've seen everything from macrame, which is period. I've seen, what are some other things? I've seen some little leather bags. It sort of varies on the talents you have within your pool of people you can draw from and what sort of skills they have. If you've got folks near you that teach various things or are known for doing some specific thing, they may be able to figure out a smaller make and take type thing that fits within their sort of area. Okay, cool. You're not too far from, well, relatively, you're not too far from me. I'm in Shire of Dark River, which is mundanely Moline, Illinois. Yes.
Yeah, I'm from the whole, like, U of I half county group.
Yeah. So there's a question online as well. I'll read it out. What role does university organizing play for an MoAS in the Mid-Realm or other classes at events? Okay. So quite often, the MoAS of a group is going to be the first person an event coordinator, an event steward will reach out to when they are planning an event. So they'll be like, okay, we'd like to do some ANS, maybe some classes. Often their first point of contact is their MoAS. And again, you can do that yourself. You can help the event steward find somebody who can accomplish it, or sort of help do that for them. Part of that networking aspect. As for universities, the university like we have today, the Royal University of the Mid-Realm, is part of the MoAS office. There's a chancellor of the Mid-Realm University, and they are a deputy officer to the Kingdom Minister of Arts and Sciences. And I will admit that they pretty much do everything for these university events. They plan them, they get the site secured, they recruit the teachers, they schedule the classes, and sort of get it all set up and established. Certainly, they will reach out through some of the MoAS networks when they are looking for instructors if they need them. I find in Mid-Realm we often have so many folks interested in being instructors that we don't have trouble filling a class schedule. So we don't often have to recruit via that method. But if we were running short on a college type event where we wanted to have multiple tracks of classes, that is one venue we could use as well. Emailing to all of the locals and say, hey, we have this thing coming up. Do you have any folks that would be interested in teaching? Or is there anybody you can encourage to come to the event and teach? Or just come to the event and learn. So for universities, MoASs are more helping making sure that people know they're happening and that they can attend and partake if they would like. Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions? I suppose one detail I didn't really talk about in here that falls under the organizational umbrella. Most groups also have regular business meetings. So I'm part of a shire. My shire has monthly business meetings. Our shire officers typically give a small report at each of those. So once a month, our local MoAS, his name's Ivar, he will sort of describe what the various A&S things that have happened in our shire over the last month. And then we'll move on to the next officer. So that's also sort of part of the responsibility. Yeah. A question online, did deputy MoAS officers for a local group need to report? And the deputy MoASs for groups generally do not. So if you're the deputy MoAS for the Barony of Shattered Crystal, you wouldn't need to regularly report. The primary MoAS for that group should be reporting. Ideally, you're at least informed about what they're doing and how they're doing it. As their deputy, part of the responsibility there is to make sure you can step in if need be. Yeah. I am looking at creating a report form for the Kingdom MoAS deputies, and those would be folks like the Rum Chancellor, the Fair Coordinator, the TOA Coordinator, the Consorts Prize Tournament Coordinator, for those folks, just to have a regular touch point. So that might be coming, but that's going to be for very specific deputies to the Kingdom MoAS. Well then, I think we're effectively done the class at this point. So thanks for attending, and thank you for zooming in.